Hi everybody, I'm Dr. John Douillard and welcome to LifeSpa.com. Today I want to talk about your telomeres, right? The chromosomal caps on the end of your DNA that protect you from the aging process. This was Nobel Prize winning science by Elizabeth Blackburn years ago, who found that these telomeres, these caps, they shorten as we age. She also did the research, which is really surprising for a Nobel Prize winning researcher, to find that when you meditate, the chromosomal caps actually can lengthen. Well, that spawned a lot of research on using the telomeres, the length of your telomeres, as a measurement of your long-term health and your longevity, right? Cellular aging is measured by the telomeres length. Other types of chronic health concerns and even premature death is all indicated by the length of your telomeres. One study showed that there was a significant length of the telomeres when you slept just more than 7 hours. Just something as simple as that, which is really important. And in a recent study in the journal The Lancet, super prestigious journal, they did a study with 39 people. They had half the group did a control. They just ate their regular diet. The other group ate a sort of a Mediterranean sort of healthy diet. And they also meditated and did yoga breathing and meditation, and they also exercised moderately during a 5-year period. And they measured their telomere length at the end of that 5-year period. The people who were in the control, their actually telomeres decreased in length, significant increase of risk of aging by 3%. So their telomeres shortened by 3% after 5 years by just doing their basic everyday everything they normally do. But the group that actually ate the Mediterranean diet, moderately exercised, and did yoga breathing and meditation on a regular basis increased the length of their telomeres by 10%, which is really cool because it means that we can actually sort of extend our life, right, by living a healthier lifestyle. It's not just prevention, it's actually something that can be very provocative in terms of helping to extend our life. You know, and this is really reminds me of the Blue Zones, right? I did a podcast with the author of the Blue Zones, Dan Buettner, who went around the world to the places where people live to be over 100. And he mapped out their lifestyle, what they did on a regular basis that's sort of considered in all the 7 blue zones around the world. This is the common denominator of what they did. Then I wrote an article after I interviewed him about what those techniques that they do and how they overlay on an Ayurvedic routine, which I thought was really cool. And there's an article on my website about that. Just type in the blue zones and Ayurveda. It'll just pop, right up. And in fact, that I was so intrigued by this that we actually put together a 28-day Ayurvedic challenge where you would actually every day in your inbox get a brand new Ayurvedic lifestyle routine that you could do to actually help you live the Ayurvedic experience. How do you experience Ayurveda? Well, if you were to live it every day and try these practices, it can be really quite profound. Because every little thing that Ayurveda prescribes has value, and then you use it as a buffet. At the end of the 28 days, you go, okay, I want to just stick with this particular technique versus another. But I thought it was really interesting in the article about the Blue Zones, like what do they do that we don't? Well, one, they have in their life as they age, they talk about purpose. They live their life in a way that is meaningful. It's not just about making money and retiring at some point. And Ayurveda talked about that too. They talked about something called Purush Arthas, which means the 4 aims or goals of life. And I wrote an article about that called the 4 aims or goals of life, called the Purush Arthas. It's really a fascinating understanding of what the whole purpose of life was from the Ayurvedic perspective. The first one is, there's 4 aims. First is kama, which is pleasure. Pleasure meaning, have a great time in your life. But understanding that the deepest pleasures come from real connections with people, heart to heart, where you really find that I love to get gifts, but I love giving, caring, and loving and caring for others even more. And that's been shown in studies to change your chemistry, change your hormones to be more oxytocin based, to increase a stable of more beneficial bacteria. Epigenetically, actually changes your genetic code in a positive way. This is the first aim. The second aim was artha, which is wealth. course, we all think, oh, I just need to make a lot of money so I can retire, sort of the American way. But from the Ayurvedic perspective, it wasn't about making money. Yes, you want to have a career that can put a roof over your head and take care of your family, but the wealth was to learn how not to be attached to the fruit of your actions. And this is all sort of happens gradually and naturally in the traditional cultures where the people live to be over 100 in the centenarian blue zone communities. And then there's also Dharma, which isn't like find the perfect job and live my Dharma because I have the perfect career and my avocation and my vocation are the same. Dharma is the laws of nature. It's beginning to live your life in sync with the natural rhythms of nature, the circadian rhythms of nature, honor, integrity, as well as a lifestyle going downstream with the current. Like, how cool is that? And when you do all that, then you find the final one, which is called moksha, or liberation, where you free yourself from all the attachments of this material world. So by the time you get to the old time where you're going to transition on, you're not holding on for dear life to this material world. I thought it was pretty cool. They also have the thing in the blue zones called downshifting, where every day around 5 o'clock, they take a little break and they have a little bit of wine. Many of the blue zones do. But they also always take time for their prayer. They take times for a nap. They take time for rest. Their day isn't a rat race, and that's something that Ayurveda is really all about. Obviously prescribing daily routines of yoga and breathing and meditation and walking after you eat your food. That life is not, an absolute race to get to the finish line, which might mean like, I've made all the money, I can now retire, and then, but you're 70 years old and you finally get Social Security and, but you race through your whole life. Like, that's a lot of years of racing to get to, the last third if you're lucky. Another one is the 80% rule. And these are all the lifestyles that will increase the length of your telomeres. 80% means you eat food till you're about 80% full instead of stuffing yourself. There's no question that the most reliable science for longevity and health is called calorie restriction. Americans eating less food. One study showed that Americans eat 100% of the food that they need, and then they go ahead and eat another 100% of the food they don't actually need to survive. And if they would just take 30% less of that, their blood pressure, weight, blood sugar, all the kind of chronic degenerative issues that we have as we age were reversed through this very gentle calorie restriction, which if we just ate in general, instead of stuffing ourselves to our maximally full to 80%, things would change. Of course, they talk about mostly a plant-based diet. Eating about 10% of your diet as animal protein is what most blue zone centenarian communities do. Ayurveda talks about eating also a minimal amount of animal protein. Now, if you want to be a vegan, absolutely 100% great, but make sure you get the right supplements, B12, omega-3 fatty acids, your vitamin D, your iron. You want to make sure that you're getting vitamin K2 as well. Make sure you're getting the right supplements because you can run the risk of deficiency if you don't get that animal protein or what's in those animal proteins the very best you can. I only say that because I've seen so many vegetarian casualties. If you eat a vegetarian diet right, a vegan diet right, you probably can get away with not having to take a lot of those supplements. However, you got to be cooking at least 2 hours a day to make that right, and that's not what a lot of people do. A lot of people cheat and they end up eating sugar and starch as their main source of fuel, and that in the long term can become problematic. They also have a lot of friends and community. In Ayurveda, it's all about, the extended family. Families live together. Family is a really important piece of the puzzle, and that's another big part of the centenarian culture. And then, of course, finally, they have no gyms, right? They don't go to gyms and work out and pump iron, but they're constantly active, whether they're, taking care of their sheep or walking or hiking in their fields and their farms. It's a very traditional culture, right? And if we were all farmers, right, we would need to go to a gym, right? And I'm not saying gyms are bad, but I think that we need to plug in some reasonable amount of moderation. If you're going to go intense, don't do it every day. Really give your body a chance to recover. Some of the best, fitness gurus in America, Ben Greenfield, a good friend of mine, clearly says it's all about the recovery, giving your body plenty of time to recover. We talk about that, about pulling back the bow and then taking action, whether it be mental, physical, or emotional action. But don't kill yourself. Your body, this is not break my body down to build myself up. This is an experience of life where the more you establish the calm, like a hurricane, the bigger the calm you establish, the more powerful and productive your winds. This is a law of nature that Ayurveda tries to mimic. I think the centenarian people live that automatically, naturally, because they're just living in sort of sync with the rhythms. Most of them are agricultural based, and they just live in sync with the natural rhythms. And nature, being out in the fields, is quite peaceful. And I think that's the message from the blue zones. And it's the message from the study about lengthening your telomeres, is how we can live in a way of living going downstream with the natural rhythms of nature, as opposed to fighting against those currents. And many of us feel exhausted at the end of the day, wasted at the end of the week, and they need the weekend to recover. So the idea is to get back into those rhythms and get the benefit, which is well now scientifically documented. Check out that article at LifeSpa.com about your telomeres and lifestyle, and how important that is. And if you want to dive into Ayurveda and experience it, check out our 28-day Ayurvedic challenge. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.